Welcome to the channel, everybody. Today I just want to talk about things that just don't feel right with GameStop stock right now. GME is the ticker. I just want to talk about a couple things where it's like you look into it and you're like, yeah, this seems just strange, this seems weird. We're going to talk about volumes, chat rooms, we're going to talk about earnings, we're going to talk about just a couple things. It's going to be really quick, but just a couple things that makes you feel like this is not a normal situation by any means at all. So if you like the content, think about subscribing, and let's just talk about why it feels a little weird, a little gross, this GME situation. So the first thing I threw up on the board here that I want to talk about is just like every single chat room or area where you can talk about GME at all, even a place that's relatively bullish like Wall Street Bets. Even there, the amount of people that are throwing negative comments on the board and the amount of volume that they're throwing on the board as well. So, and that's another thing, is the volume. So if a company generally has gotten like, 10,000 comments within the last month, now the volume on GME has been absolutely insane. Every day it's been like hundreds of thousands of comments, at least on Yahoo Finance and on Wall Street Bets. But Wall Street Bets, people are just really bullish about it. But anyway, on all these things, the volume of commenters is just absolutely crazy. And I kind of want to just go through how I feel about all the negative comments. So let's say you're a bull to bear. So in my situation here, Virgin Galactic, I've got a little bit bearish on it due to the fact that I think they're not going to be having any flights for a long time. I think they're just going to trade sideways or down, which they kind of have. But every single type of stock in that field kind of has, just with all the SPAC stocks kind of been going down. But anyway, so I'm kind of going bull to bear on that one, but I'm not going to go on their website and be like, you guys are stupid, like they're not going to make money for a long time, they're going to go sideways to their test flight. If they push the test flight back out, they're just going to be totally... So like the last thing I'm going to do is that, like, if people want to be in that stock and they think the test flight's going to go great, then I think if it does go great, I think it could do really, really well. But I'm not going to go on websites and post that. Like, doesn't that seem weird? How many investors that go from bull to bear on something are going on a bunch of different sites and going like, yeah, I think this is going to be crazy. Another thing is if you're just a straight bear. So a company I'm just a straight bear on is Nikola stock. I don't think they have any products. Their valuation doesn't make any sense to me. Their CEO was just a freaking crook the whole entire time. And if people hate on that, it is what it is. But for me, I'm just a straight bear on Nikola stock. But I'm not going to go on chat rooms for them and be like, oh, this is going right to zero. This is stupid. What if they made solar panels on a house for their revenue? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to go ahead and say all that stuff. So who are the people that are saying all of that stuff? And I would say 95% of the comments, because your normal average Joe, if they sell it or are bearish on it, they're not going to post negative comments on these things. So who are the people that are doing that then? Well, it's got to be the shorts that are doing it, People that, if I could make money from one of these stocks going down, then maybe I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll go post and try and spread fear or whatever. So that's got to attest to the amount and percent of shorts that are on GME right now, because the volume, which is exponentially crazy on every single thing you can look up where there's commenters, is just insane. The volume of commenters that you can have and how much negativity all of the commenters are having as well. So that's just got to speak to the volume of shorts that are on there, and it makes me feel like the short interest that's reported is not even close to accurate with how many negative commenters there are on this topic. The next thing I wanted to talk about that just seems so strange and so off with this stock is just the volume. And now I'm not talking about the just the volume of shares traded minute by minute or whatnot. So, and the thing that gets me is it's not that it's just the downward volume, it's also the upward volume. They say that retail has been getting just hammered by everybody about this, but I don't think retail is even playing a huge part in this at all. I think it's just hedge fund versus hedge fund at this point. This is all for entertainment purposes. But I think at this point it's just, hedge fund versus hedge fund with the amount of volume. A little guy cannot buy enough shares to make any big difference in this when you're seeing the volume that we're seeing. So price movement up, yep, I think we're seeing with huge volume when it ticks up like crazy. I think either shorts are buying shares back, or I believe that other hedge funds are buying large quantities of share to pump up the share price. And then also from the downward movement. So within 15 minutes, the stock had gone from 320, and I believe it went down to, oh, you're going to have to correct me on this, but I think it moved down to 200 or so, or went down to 180 maybe, and the volume minute by minute was millions of shares per minute. So I don't think your average Joe is going to have that much money. We're talking, 1 million shares per minute, that'd be $200 million they'd have to throw into this, if it was $200 per share, 300 million if it was 300. And that they would just have to sell. So the volume has just been absolutely crazy. And the timing of the volume has actually been just so, kind of suspicious too. mainly just with the earnings. So earnings, we were floating, you know, around $200 some, and then after earnings, it went all the way down to 120 with crazy weird amounts of volume. So I'm like, okay, if retail did not like these earnings and they were to sell, you wouldn't see this crazy spike in you know, volume that you're seeing. You'd see just high volume throughout the whole entire day, but not like crazy bars of volume that we're seeing, like, you know, within the course of 5-10 minutes. So the volume has been really suspect here in this case as well, which is just like, it makes you feel weird, and you're like, something just brewing underneath here, like what the heck's going on? So that also just adds to the uneasiness about this one. So what do we think about all this stuff going on? All of the negative comments, every single news outlet out there saying bad things about GME, all of the volume that we're seeing on the downside to make it look like, oh, everybody hated earnings, now we're selling out. What do we think about this? Well, I think this is just a crazy amount of people that are, you know, shorting this stock potentially. And the reported, you know, short interest was super duper low, or not super low, but lower. So I think maybe that's kind of covered up. And it's so hard because I just feel uneasy about the situation. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I've read a ton of, you know, different people talking about the stock and what they think is going on, what they think is going to happen. But I think this is just a good play against, you know, how leveraged these hedge funds can be. We just saw recently a hedge fund go under that had like 5-to-1 leverage. They just lost like $20 billion, and they sunk the whole market just with that. So if this is like some grand scheme that could destroy the whole entire market, cause a complete crash, I think it's smart just to have a little bit of money tucked in this stock in particular, just in case something happens where this thing does explode and then the hedge funds like bankrupt the whole entire market, or not bankrupt it, but you know what I mean. So I think, in my opinion, what do I think? I feel uneasy about this. I do feel like something's wrong here. And, you know, I don't think it's a bad play just to have a little bit of money tied in this one, just in case things hit the absolute worst, to like balance out your portfolio. If 90% of your stuff gets absolutely murdered, you know, then at least you have this 10% that's going to pop off and go crazy. So I don't think it's a bad play in that sense. But something doesn't feel right here. And that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. So if you enjoy the content, think about subscribing. And thanks for watching.